for coming to the press conference of Kim Novak's Vertigo. The film is, the documentary is presented out of competition and is associated to our giving Kim Novak, bestowing Kim Novak the Golden Lion for Career Award. So it's a very big deal. Before we start the press conference, I'm going to introduce the guests, starting from far right, the producer Terry Pinon. The director of the film, Alexander Philippe, a frequent guest of Venice. And the executive producer of the film, Sue Cameron. I think we owe the first question to Sue, and it is, how was this documentary possible?
Thank you. And I can't, those are not on yet. Okay, and I can't thank you enough for inviting us. It means the world. The whole world.
Sue is, beside being the executive producer of the film, she's Kim Novak's longtime manager and a close friend.
Anyway, hello everybody. I have wanted to do a documentary on Kim for at least 15 years, and I wasn't going to let it be done by just anybody. I didn't pursue it. I didn't see any director that I wanted, and I had faith that one day a magic moment would happen and the right director would appear. And one day, I got a call from this gentleman with the blue eyes, and he was talking about another project with Kim, and I could just tell by the sound of his voice and the documentaries that he'd made. Right in the middle of it, I said, "Excuse me, would you like to make a whole documentary on Kim Novak?" And he almost fainted. And I said, "No, I'm really serious. I know you're the guy who I've been waiting for." And we decided to do it. He'll tell you more about the production schedule. Basically, 2 weeks after that phone call, we were in production. It was like magic. The one thing I want to say is that we wanted full control, creative control of the documentary, so we chose not to sell it, to pre-sell it to anybody for financing, whether it was Netflix, HBO, anything. We wanted our baby to be our baby, and we are ecstatic that we pulled it off, and we can't wait to see an audience reaction to it tonight.
I'd like to follow up with a question to Alexander. I think you wanted to make it because we were talking last year at this time. You was making a film about vertigo, and that I knew of, and then you met with her.
Yes, well, I mean, we're still eventually we'll make this other film about vertigo, but yes, the whole thing was really serendipitous because when I talked to you on the phone for the first time, Sue, I was at the Carlo Vivari Film Festival, which incidentally is the motherland, right, for the Novak family.
Exactly.
And I was going to then fly to northern Washington State to drive all the way down to San Diego, and then when I heard that she was literally on the way in Oregon, I thought, well, maybe I can just stop by and see how we get along. So that's where I had my first conversation with Kim on the phone. And 2 weeks later, I was at her home, and we spent a whole afternoon together, and we went out to dinner. And basically, by the end of the evening, she said, "When do we start?" And I said, "Well, I'm about to premiere a film at the Venice Film Festival. I have about a month. Let me see if I can find some investors." And we did, and we started right away. So.
And how did you raise your hand if you have a question? Otherwise, I keep going. And how did you plan with the shoot with Kim? How was it? Was it something rigorously pre-planned, or it was more instinctive?
It was very instinctive. I think a lot of it stemmed, as the people who will see the film today will realize, it stemmed from a very sort of instant personal connection. I think we really clicked, as you and I did too, and of course with Terry, it's like we're a little bit of a family. And I think on day one of shooting, I was already up in Kim's attic just going through boxes and finding these extraordinary things that she either had not seen in a long time or, things that she didn't even know she had. So part of the emotional spine of the film is really about is this idea of me going to see, as this lifelong Vertigo especially fan, but also a great admirer of Kim's career and her art, who went there to help her life come full circle. And that's the way that, I know that's the way that she puts it, and there's obviously a very emotional moment at the end where she talks about this. But I think the joy of it was to kind of dig up these treasures, from her personal life and have her reconnect with them and being able to sort of maybe show her life in a different light, in a different way. And what I think is the most extraordinary thing, for me, the extraordinary gift, is how open she was. We did a few production periods. We had essentially three productions. But then I told her, I would like you to keep sending me voice memos. So I told her how to record a voice memo on an iPhone and then send it to me. And so she started essentially this. What's wonderful about this is it turned into a little bit of a confessional, and and then they became more and more personal and raw and emotional. And there's this one that I'm not going to spoil it, but it is the one that essentially opens the movie, the opening sequence. When she left me that voice memo, it was just so incredibly powerful and dark. I gasped, and I immediately called Sue. I said, Sue, this is an incredible voice memo. I said,
Can we use it?
I want to open. Yeah, I was like, I want to open the film with it, but is it too dark? And you said,
No, go for it.
Yeah.
There's a question there.
Hello, Absa from Amsterdam. I have three questions. I don't know if...
Can we go one by one?
All right, okay. There's a lot of Hitchcock in the film, which is not a problem for me, but in my view, there are many other films that are not, let's say, extensively treated in your film, especially The Man with the Golden Arm. I was hoping that there would be more info on that film.
So, look, I don't make... standard documentaries. I don't like to go check mark by check mark and sort of go chronologically over a person's life and give the best of. I'm really not interested in that kind of storytelling. I'm interested in the thematic. I'm interested in getting to the core of a human being. And so I'm using the clips really as a reflection of who Kim is, as a portrait of Kim, not in terms of let's go through her life as a chronology and her career as a chronology, if that makes any sense. That's a different kind of film. It's not the filmmaker that I am. These are not the films that I'm interested in watching.
If I can say something, the Vertigo titled Kim Novak's Vertigo, it's not really about the movie Vertigo. It's about the mystery of Kim Novak and the symbols that are in Vertigo that you see, like spirals and all of these things. It's just a key that we use for the mystery. It's her whole life, and it's different movies. We just chose that title because Vertigo to us had different meanings than what you're used to.
Yeah, it's really about the spirals in her life. And in fact, the movie, if you want to sort of really get into it, the movie has a spiral structure. So it's a 4-act structure, and at the end of each act, we come back to this idea of why she left Hollywood. But at the end of each act, it's a sort of a different reason. So it's more of a portrait, is the way that I would like to put it. It's a very personal portrait. But that's the beauty about documentary filmmaking. There's so many ways you can make a film. But I agree. Her career is so incredible. You could make a 5-hour film about Kim and not even scratch the surface. So.
With the sequel.
A sequel.
Yeah, a sequel. Yeah.
What were the other questions?
Yes, the other question concerns her dresses. I was told that she always asked for the dresses she wore in the film to take home. And there was one example about a green dress that they asked for her to return so they could, with the coloring, they could adjust it to the original dress. Is that a true story?
No.
Okay.
No, she rarely took dresses home.
Oh.
Very rarely.
But what happened to the dress from Vertigo? How did you get that one then?
You'll have to see the movie.
I saw it.
Oh, then you know what happened to it. Oh,
Yeah.
You're talking about the black dress?
The gray
with
suit.
The
The gray
defense.
You're
suit.
talking about the gray suit? Or?
Yes.
You know what happened to the gray suit, if you've seen it.
No, we don't talk
Oh,
about
not the
it.
film. I'm sorry. Yes, the gray suit. The gray suit figures very importantly in the film.
But how did she get
How
it?
did she get
How
it?
did we get it? Oh, some man bought it at an auction for his wife.
Aha.
And she gave it to us because she loved Kim and wanted us to have the suit. And we'd almost passed out because we were trying to find the gray suit. There were 3 of them, and we couldn't find any of them. And this was truly a gift for us. It was extraordinary how we used it and what happened. Yes, thank you for
But it
asking.
was still in the original auction box when we were there, and we just did the unboxing on camera. Why not? That was an amazing moment.
As a follow-up, and then we'll get to your third, it's interesting that, she left Hollywood, but then from the documentary, it's very clear that she kept letters, photographs, she kept a lot, and even if she didn't open those boxes anymore, she was never ready to part with it. So the documentary really works as an uncovering of that past that was almost...
You see some of the attic in it is so much more. It was like Christmas, and she was just, do whatever you guys want up there, like it's all yours. It was
The
an
attic
amazing
is the
gift.
size of this room, filled with boxes. It was an unbelievable treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Sue, why do you think she kept it? She was free to let that world go, but she kept so much of it.
One of the first things that she showed me when we first met was she came to Hollywood. I think she was 20, I'm not sure, and she kept a little notebook, a little spiral notebook with the blue lines. And I would see, on the first page, she wrote, coffee, 5 cents, meaning that she spent 5 cents on coffee. She detailed her whole life. She didn't realize what she did, but everything is there. It tells you everything. I don't know why, but she simply put everything down.
Do you think it may also have to do with the fact that obviously she's gone through several house fires, and saving the things that were important were, there's obviously sort of a key to that. It's like saving whatever she could from her past.
Right.
Yeah.
Must have been a part of it, yeah.
For some reason, she just had an instinct.
She had an instinct because remember, she had old high school poems. I mean,
Yes,
we found everything from even before she was in Hollywood and had there was no twinkle in her eye to be in Hollywood, and she still saved all these things. So it's just something inherent in her.
I think her father did that, actually.
Really?
Yes, he saved everything.
Well, good. Thank
Yeah, I
God.
found a lot of notes from her dad. I mean, obviously there's one that shows up in the documentary, but there's a number of really beautiful little loving notes from her dad. It was some gorgeous stuff. Yeah.
Question number 3.
It's a very simple question. How old was Kim when you did the interview in the film? How many years ago?
91.
91.
So that's 5 years,
It
4
is
years ago.
literally
No,
1
1
year.
Last year.
Oh,
Last year, August was our first shoot
Right.
in her house.
And she's very active because after Venice she will go to Deauville. She has
Yes.
a tribute there
Yeah.
as well. Why does she do this? There is of course this film, but she still likes the limelight.
No.
Okay.
No,
Why?
she does not like the limelight. I wanted to give this as a present to her because she's been so hidden all these years. I wanted her to have one more pow in her life. And it was not easy, really. If she had not met him, she felt secure with him. So she said yes. And the idea of other festivals, we're already in Europe. And France is not far from where we are. So we have offers all over the world. We're only doing 3.
Yeah, it's a challenge. She wants to be home with her horses and her dogs and her, but she's willing to help promote the film, to help the film team and be here with us, but yeah.
But also she's now 92, she exercises with weights every day. She walks, she has a 13-acre ranch with 3 islands on it and horses and horse meadows. She rides the horses, she walks around the meadow. She does not give up. This is not someone who acts her age, and she's determined not to accept her age. She was working out this morning in a room with weights. Seriously, you can't imagine.
Buongiorno, Francesca Pierleoni del Lanza. Volevo chiedere a...
Aspetta un attimo, Francesca.
Prego. Volevo chiedere a Sue Cameron e al regista qual è secondo voi l'aspetto che il grande pubblico ignora di Kim Novak? Qual è la cosa che dal racconto che noi abbiamo solo dai media non c'è mai arrivato di Kim Novak, perché tra tante grandi star, appunto per il fatto che è riservata, noi sappiamo pochissimo. Al di là, appunto, il documentario colma questo vuoto, però secondo voi a livello personale qual è la cosa che si dovrebbe conoscere di più? Grazie.
The answer is her strength. This is a woman who never gives up. She won't do anything unless she wants to do it. She thinks constantly of all of the actions that her decision might make happen. The surprise of the film is the revelations about her childhood. We're not going to talk more about that, but when you see the movie, you will understand what made her become the way she is. That's a surprise for you, but it's the childhood.
I struggle to answer a question like this in a sense because I'm more interested in mysteries than I am in answering, providing answers. And I think anytime you make a film about someone, especially someone like Kim Novak, I think, one way to look at it is that you enter the film as, with Kim being a mystery, and in a sense, what I hope is that she will be an even deeper mystery by the end of the film. And so this idea to me is, it's, yes, you learn a lot of things. I think you discover a lot of things, especially emotionally, which again, we're not going to spoil because they're very much a part of the emotional ride of watching this film. But I think in many ways, the more you answer questions, the more you open doors into hopefully deeper mysteries, because we are all mysteries. And I think that's the way that I like to approach a film like this.
Hello, this is Yanis from Greece. Thank you for this film. It's very nice to learn about legends. My question is, as filmmakers, during filmmaking, did you ever feel that there were limits that you should not cross, according the questions, I mean, to Kim Novak?
That's you.
I mean, I think yes, you feel it out, and you have to build a rapport of trust. That's the most important thing. I mean, for Kim to finally open up after so many years and be so extraordinarily vulnerable, which is a strength. It's a real show of strength to be able to share all these secrets in a way, all these things about her life, very painful memories as well. It's not something that you can just put someone on the spot and say, now tell me about this and tell me about this. It's something that you build over time, and you see where she wants to go. I always like to talk about this idea that when you're doing an interview, it's almost like jazz. You're riffing with the person, and you're getting a sense of where the person wants to go. Even though they don't necessarily know where they want to take you, you have to pay attention to where they want to go, and kind of, you're following them in a intuitive, fashion. And so, and as a result of this, there's a lot of stuff. Truly, the magic is where it happens as a result of the process. The structure really happens as a result of the discoveries that you make together. It's really the connection that happens that dictates what comes out. And I think, yes, I will say absolutely Kim probably had certain things she didn't want to talk about, but that was made clear very quickly, and I don't like to press someone to go in a direction where they don't want to go. It's pointless.
It seemed to me when I saw the film compared to your other films, as a filmmaker, Alexander has a very clear vision, and he tends to be very he's very controlling of his materials. Yeah.
Really?
and compared to the other film, this one is almost like, I wouldn't say co-directed, but it's very clear that the force of the information and it's not just what she says, but the way the portrait is laid out, it comes from her, So the things that were mysterious there's still, the mystery is unresolved in a way, which is part of the beauty of the film. And I like that you compare it to a seance,
Oh, 100%.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It was there was definitely a seance by the fireplace where we had actually literally a bell book and candle, and we kind of summoned the spirit of Hitchcock together. But I think you're right. I mean, it's interesting because there was one of the interviews that we did, Terry, I think it was the last one, where at one point she turned the tables on me and she actually said, okay, now I want to ask you questions about your childhood, because she knew about my passion for vertigo and the wallpaper, the fact that my wallpaper in Switzerland where I grew up was the same wallpaper as Ernie's, and that's the reason why I've become sort of entranced by this image of Kim coming out of the wallpaper towards me, and why I became a cinephile. But by virtue of turning the tables on me and asking me questions, then you're right. It becomes a kind of a joint effort, and this is why,
And it wasn't until after we were done that he's like, you know what? I'm going to have to be in this film.
Yes.
And I've never been in one of my films. I'm going to have to be a character in this film because of these conversations we had where she brought me into the story. And it kind of made sense. And this was way after we were done
absolutely.
shooting.
Yeah, she's the puppeteer.
Yeah.
100%, yes.
Speaking as someone who has represented her for decades, she only gives you what she chooses to give you. She controls every single interview and decides if she's doing a phone or if she's doing a Zoom. She'll look at the person, or she'll get a sound of the voice, and she'll decide how much she wants to give. She really did trust you, and she knew that you had her best interest at heart, and she really did give you every single thing. I've never seen her do that before.
Yeah,
that was one of what I thought was going to be a challenge, because yes, she's been living this recluse life for so long. Here we come. We had to turn it around so quickly. How much are we going to get out of her? Because we have to peel this onion, right? And I think she took to us very, very, very quickly, and we felt it too, I think, right from day one. And it made it much easier the rest of the way, I think.
There is a scene in the film which I think was you told me about when I saw it, when she's in her what used to be her house in Carmel.
Yeah.
That the house was. You actually were able to film there because the house was it's one of those magic things. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, well, Sue, do you want to talk about the Carmel house, the Gull House?
Oh, a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, sure.
She had in her mind that she already hated Hollywood and wanted to get out. And when she was shooting The Notorious Landlady, and I'm not sure what year that was, it could have been 64.
64, yeah.
She was shooting with Jack Lemmon in Carmel, and her sister was with her, and her sister went for a drive and found this extraordinary house that Kim named Gull House, which is all glass and rock, right in Big Sur, right over the sea. And she bought that house immediately on that day in the middle of shooting Notorious Landlady, and she intended to use it for weekends. Whenever she was unhappy in Hollywood, she always had an escape. So in the back of her mind, she was planning the escape already, and she had a place to go to. The reason she left in 1966, there was a terrible Bel Air fire in 65, I think, and she lived across the street from the Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles, up on a hill, and the hill slid away. The hill slid away, and she said, well, this is the sign. Kim strongly believes in signs. The hill slid away, and she said, well, that's it. I'm supposed to leave. My house is going. I'm leaving. She took the dogs. She got in the car, and Kim loves pickles. This sounds crazy, but she loves certain pickles, like a certain sour pickle. And she drove to where she could always get the pickles, and they were out of the pickles. And she said, that's it. That's a sign. There are no more pickles. I'm leaving. I'm gone. It was the pickle at the last minute that made her say, I'm not coming back. And she didn't.
Yeah, so to take her back there, I think was really special, because also it was the first time since then that she reconnected with the house. It was the first time also since Vertigo that she went back to the mission in San Juan Bautista.
And even put hands on that suit.
And then put hand on the gray suit. So it was a real sort of, again, kind of, you know, we talk about this idea of, I think a lot about ghosts. It's about bringing the ghosts from the past. She talks about the ghosts of Hollywood. There are, of course, some dark ghosts, but there are also some really beautiful ghosts from the past. And I think that sort of, reconnection, the seance, as you put it, it's about connecting and reconnecting with the past in ways that are both joyful and painful, and as she says at the very end, you know, she embraces it all now and sees it through a very different lens because it's life, you know, and it's all a beautiful thing, and we should all be very lucky to be alive right now, you know.
Sue, do you think that now that the film is made, she's seen it, she likes it, and do you think there is a relief, or it's like a completion of because you said before I wanted to give her something,
Yes.
but you feel like she's the same. She feels like that it's like a.
She loves it. She loves every frame. She cried throughout. She called me after she saw it, and she was sobbing and sobbing, and she said, "You did it, you did it." It was a remarkable reaction. She's very critical, and she had nothing but wonderful things to say about it. It wasn't easy, really, to get her to do this. I had to beg her to let him in the house, but thank God she did.
Well, she left me a note. You know, when she requested to see the film, of course, you have this moment. It's like, okay, now she has the link. Oh my gosh, you know, what's going to happen? And then it's out of your hands. But I knew, obviously, I felt, you know, she would respond. But I didn't quite expect the reaction. She sent me an email that, of course, made me cry. And then the next day, she left me a 2-minute voice memo, which, you know, I will cherish for the rest of my life. It's beyond words, truly, how what it means to have a voice note from Kim. Yeah, that way. Yeah.
And the film doesn't have distributor yet, correct?
Not
Correct.
yet. Correct.
Not yet.
Well, we just haven't,
We
haven't chosen one yet.
Yeah, we purposely didn't share with buyers yet because we wanted them to see it here
Yeah.
at the premiere. Yeah.
With her. And before we go, Alexander, what is you said you're going to still make your other film on Vertigo, and how's that compared to this? What's the difference?
Well, it's a completely different animal. That one is called The Fall, and it's actually it focuses on one shot. It focuses on 57 frames of Vertigo, and that's the extreme close-up of Jimmy Stewart, where everything happens, right? He turns to the left, he sees the nun, we hear the scream, she's gone. And so the real question is like, okay, this is Hitchcock basically really toying with us because he's really not showing us what happens. And what I found out over time in talking to filmmakers, especially filmmakers who are obsessed with Vertigo, is that we all have a different version in our minds of exactly what happens during that fall. And that completely colors our vision of Vertigo. So for me, it's a search for what happened. And the beauty of it is I actually got to ask those questions to Kim, and we filmed that as well. So the whole idea is to, you know, go and talk to some of the great filmmakers who are obsessed, such as Guy Madden and Park Chan-wook, and Ari Aster told me he'd be in the film. And I mean, you know, we can go down the list, but then eventually culminate with Kim's version of the facts of what happened at the end of Vertigo. So.
Any other question? I think we close. We have a half an hour. So thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Sue,
you very much.
Alexander,
Thank you.
and Terry.
Thank you, and
For
enjoy
the
the
film
movie.
and for being here.
Yeah.
queste, wow. Anche queste sono le caramelle nuove, guarda.
I think she's, yeah, of course. Yeah. Grazie per essere venuti alla conferenza stampa del nostro film in concorso, The Testament of Anne Lee. And while Amanda makes her way here, prima di cominciare presento gli ospiti al tavolo partendo dalla mia destra in fondo. Il produttore Andrew Morrison, la coreografa Celia Rolson Hall, la protagonista del film Amanda Seyfried, la regista, sceneggiatrice e produttrice Mona Fasval, l'autore delle musiche Daniel Blomberg, e il produttore e sceneggiatore Brady Corbett. Okay, I'll have the first question for Mona. Mona, what made you feel the experience of Anne Lee was something that you could work on, associate to the artistic creative process, and make contemporary, be an historical adaptation with contemporary values?
Well, first of all, obviously, it's interesting talking about female leadership right now, I think. But I think for myself personally, trying to make a movie or create a piece of art in a business that's very male dominated as well. I am always trying to create also a culture on set, a community on set that is a bit different, and to sort of create a culture that is nurturing, that is kind, that has a lot of empathy for everyone on my sets as well. And I thought that in Anne Lee's story, that really spoke to me. The way that she is leading, even though I was raised in a secular household, without any kind of relationship to religion, I don't prescribe to Anne Lee's, all of her ideas, but I do think that the way that she leads with empathy and kindness, and wanted to create a space for, where everyone was equal, men, women, people of color, with empathy for children as well at that age, at that time period, I think is really important to talk about now.
There's a question here.
Hi, I'm Lisa Foster from DPA. I have a question for Amanda. Your role in the film seems very intense and also physically challenging with the sounds you managed to make, the birth giving, the violence she's facing. So I was wondering, could you share your experience of how challenging the filming was for you?
It's so funny because there's so many things that I can say because it was such a joyous experience, especially the way it was led by Mona and the way we all felt almost like in the Shaker movement. We all had a job to do and we all felt it felt very equal, it felt very community driven. The experience was so incredible, and I think the reason I was able to face these challenges as an artist, which there were many, as you say, was because I felt completely protected and held up and surrounded by people, loving artists, and in a place where everybody knew the value of making this and understood Mona's vision. And it's just very rare. I have to say it, this was incredibly rare and might never happen again. So I think, yes, it was hard. What? I hope so. I mean, maybe with Mona and Brady, but I don't know. I know that it's special, and I know that portraying a woman that's been through so much trauma and seeing her overcome that and have this vision and this devotion to God, and also portraying a woman, at the end of the day, someone who felt like I have space in this world too, as a woman and a child of God, to serve people, and in a world where just women did not lead, was just made it all easier. But yeah, it was hard. It was great though. It was so enlightening, and it was also incredibly, I don't know, therapeutic. The sounds, the animal sounds you're referring to, that Daniel so magically made sound beautiful and full of passion. I don't know, it all felt cathartic too. Sorry.
It should be pointed out that you went back to the original Shakers hymns for the music and for the songs. Can you talk about that work on it was actually philologically going back to their text and sounds? Yeah.
Both of us?
Yeah.
No, there's an amazing amount of beautiful Shaker hymns that we were able to draw on, and we just listened to all of them, and that was really beautiful to do together. And yeah, it was a really and then develop those into what you hear in the film.
Yeah. No, it was wonderful we spent a lot of time just doing so much research and going into the history of all the Shaker hymns. There are almost 1,000 of them, and found the ones that felt like they belonged in our story. And it was a really beautiful and exciting process to just get to access this rich history of music.
There's a question here.
Congratulations. It's such an intense movie with the recreation of the Shakers having these songs and this experience and these gestures. How did you figure out, the choreography, I guess?
Celia, you got to answer that.
Thank you so much. What Mona and I first did was look at all of the images that showed the Shakers while in America, depictions of them sort of expressing through movement, and there was these beautiful formations that they were creating. But obviously that's, really as much as we had to go off of. And so knowing that that's where we wanted to end at the film, by the end of the film, in this more realized, concise space that Anne had been through this journey, and so you're not going to have that raw ecstatic nature that you do when you're 20 versus 50. And so I really wanted the movement to feel quite economical by the end, but really to then go backwards through that. The first time I heard one of the songs that Daniel had made, and I heard sort of his reimagining of the hymn, I said, okay, I can do anything too. So it really gave me this freedom to then just really think about what Anne was going through, and to do the best job that I could to channel that movement as that character, and then to bring it to Amanda, and then to make sure that it felt authentic to her body, and that this was not dance, that something was like put on top and it came from, and it had and every movement has a specific intention that was a prayer, and that we shared with every single actor, every extra, to make sure that we were always on the same page and that it felt really truthful.
I'm Alex, I'm from Film Updates. First of all, congratulations on the film. Amanda, what a tremendous performance. I was curious to know what drew you to the character, to this part. Was it the musical aspect? Was it the character? What was it? And Mona, what did you see in Amanda that convinced you that she would be the perfect Anne Lee?
Amanda has a lot of power. She's really strong. She is a wonderful mother. She is a little mad. And so I knew that she could access those things. She could access the kindness, the gentleness, the tenderness, and she could also access this power and this madness. And I think that at our age, there is something really exciting about exploring that, the combination of all of that. And I saw that Amanda had all of that and that she was ready to really go full force into that.
This did feel like an opportunity where there was just no tethers to anything. Basically, I follow Mona into the light and anything goes because there's so much freedom. And the only threat is to not use that freedom to your advantage as an artist, to go as far deep as you can go, to make the craziest sounds. I've never been let loose in this way. And it was incredible, but it's also really hard playing somebody who's a leader. Like, yes, I do, like, I relate to the mother instincts. I relate to the need for community and kindness and compassion and the equality, and I love her intentions, Mona's intentions and Anne Lee's intentions behind everything they did. And it was just so attractive. But I also was just like, Mona, you don't have to cast me. I kept saying, go with somebody English, because the accent seemed so hard. And that wasn't the hardest part. But it was just, I saw the love that Mona had. This was her baby. And I didn't want to F it up. But she believed in me, so I believed in me, and here we are. And yeah, like I said, rare.
There is something, I'll come to your question, but I want to follow up. There is something in the performance in the entire film, and that while the film is period, and you have the accent and everything, it feels incredibly contemporary. Can you talk about, Amanda and also Mona, how to juggle that a contemporary language within a perfectly realized period film?
Yes, well, I think maybe the contemporary aspects of it is in the intimacy between the characters. I think we are used to seeing period pieces where everyone is very buttoned up and held, and they don't engage physically with one another. So even though this is a film where this community ends in celibacy, they weren't puritanical. They're not like the Quakers. They were, there's so much ecstasy and joy and love between them, and that's my interpretation of them, and that's what I wanted to show, was this, that they're always, they're holding on to one another, they're being physical with one another, even though it's non-sexual. So I think the movement brings a contemporary nature to it all, because we were, and the music, of course. I think that combination probably makes it more contemporary, but it didn't feel like a hard thing to balance, because as Celia said as well, with both Daniel, Celia, the cast, Brady and I, all of us, we worked on, we had a very specific set of rules for what everything meant, because we're not just improvising movement, we have a movement language. We're not just improvising sounds, we have a language for these sounds. Everything is prayer and everything has a meaning. So those were the parameters that we were working within.
You want to add something, Amanda? You do.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's funny that you said, because I looked at your movements when I first saw those, I felt a license as well. I mean, this is the first time we've talked about all this stuff, so. But no, I immediately recognized, because Mona showed me all these drawings of the Shakers dancing, and but that balance between, the license, our license, and the historical accuracy of the hymns and stuff was interesting in the recording process as well. But, yeah.
A question there.
Morning. I have a question for Mona and Brady. You wrote some scripts together. I'm curious about how do you decide which one of you would direct the project, and in which way does one contribute to the other's work when you're directing on set? Thank you.
Hello. The thing is, we firmly believe that you can only serve one master at a time. Mona had final cut on this film, which is something that's obviously very important to us and something that we've spoken about publicly quite a bit. She came to me and said, I want to make a film about Ann Lee. And we were huge fans of the design. The furniture is absolutely stunning. The architecture, is significant, especially in the northeastern part of the United States. And so it was always Mona's film. Mona has a background in performing arts and dance, and when we realized pretty early on that because the Shakers were a musical people, that the film had to be a musical. And so, when I have a project I'm working on, I bring it to her and say, okay, this is what I'm doing next. And we just sort of go back and forth that way. When I directed Second Unit on the film, and I'm working for my director, it's not because I think that a director is always right. It's because a director is always consistent, and that continuity of vision is significant to me. I'm not interested in watching films that are an exquisite corpse. I'm not interested in those sorts of public art projects where everyone has, you can end up with something like the body of a mermaid in the face of a dolphin. I want there to be real continuity and consistency in a work of art. When I read a novel, I don't want to read a novel written by 100 executives. I want to read a novel by one novelist.
So I think part of, you can applaud that, that's okay. So you wanted to. So I think also part of what we do for one another is then, we do Second Unit for one another, but we also work really closely with Andrew Morrison, our wonderful producing partner, and Josh and Brian, who's also here, in putting the films together, and protecting them and protecting that vision.
Yeah, and I would just like to point out that that our producer Andrew up here got this movie made for $10 million, And it was quite a feat because, as you can imagine, the elevator pitch for Shaker Musical was not the easiest thing to get off the ground. So
there are
Andrew,
easier ones for sure.
would you like to speak at all to that process and how you actually got this thing done?
Yeah, I mean, basically the goal when Mona said she wanted to do this, obviously the goal is for her to have complete creative freedom, for her to get to actualize her vision without really any sort of obstructions in her path. And so, how do you make a movie that spans someone's whole life, that is an epic, that's a musical, with no constraint, and also about a celibate religion that not many people were familiar with before. So it was challenging, and we had to find partners who believed in it and supported it. We had to work all over the world and and find amazing collaborators. So, but it was a joy and a pleasure because Mona's the best. So.
Hi, first of all, congratulations on the movie. I really liked it. Yeah, hi. And I wanted to ask, I do feel like it's even more than a musical. It's a film centered on music entirely. So I was wondering, during the writing process, what challenges did you face in terms of balancing the narrative and the music, and when did Daniel come on board, whether it was early on in the process or later on? Thank you.
Daniel came on board while we were writing the script. I started talking about this project while we were on the set of The World to Come, and which Daniel also made the music for. So he, he's a very close collaborator with us. So as soon as the script was done, first person I think we sent it to, after Andrew, and then we just started breaking it down together. We kept doing really long sessions. We had ideas about where the music should come in and how it should play, with the narrative. But it's not a traditional musical, and it's not a traditional biopic. It's a film with a ton of music, a ton of movement, and it's about an historical figure. But we don't really know that much about her, really, and so there's a lot of, I had to take a lot of, I felt like I had to really rethink what this could be for myself, and it was hard to look at any other musical as a reference, honestly, because it couldn't really find anything that quite spoke to this. So it just became more about finding where are the moments where they need to express their faith or a miracle of sort through movement or voice, because no one's singing dialogue. So and that kind of came naturally, like any sort of writing process where you're just like, oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah, I think one of the great things for me was being able to work with Mona through the whole process. So in pre-production, on the set, even up to the sound mix. And because for me it's the most experimental, extreme project I've ever done. But we were able to try things and use our instincts. I mean, I'm making work for Mona's film, but our instincts are quite aligned because we, spent a lot of time together over the years and making stuff. But I think being able to try things right till the end and be quite bold with, what we wanted to do, that was really great. Yeah.
Hi, Helen from Australia. Thomasine McKenzie, I've been speaking to her since she was very young. It's lovely to see her. Just tell me how wonderful she is and why you wanted to cast her as another non-British person. And also Lewis Pullman, I mean, he's up and coming. I've got my eye on him, man. Okay, if you could just discuss the casting, thanks.
Well, I'm very lucky with my cast. They're wonderful human beings, and they're wonderful actors. Thomasin and I were supposed to do another project together that fell apart, and then when I started this one, I just asked her if she would jump on board and do this one instead. And I really, I just think she's just truly one of the best in her age group. She doesn't have a false note. She's amazing with accents, and she just, I don't know, she's so grounded. She's also a really great mover, which I didn't know about her. And her voice is really interesting when she sings as well. I don't know. I knew she was a fantastic actor, but I didn't know she had all these other, talents as well. Louis Pullman was a discovery for me. Because Sandra Culkin has brought him to my attention, and she's got wonderful taste, and Louis has such tenderness. He has a sweetness and a tenderness to him that I think really was so important for this love story between the brother and sister. I mean, platonic, but like this beautiful kind of love that sort of, for me, the heart of this story really lies in that relationship. So it's very lucky to get Louis, and he's also like he's a drummer, and he's a great singer too. So I mean, the rest, David Cale, he's fantastic. Yeah, Chris Abbott. Yeah, Chris Abbott I always work with, so because he's great.
There's a question right there.
Hello, this is Yanis from Greece. Congratulations for the movie. The question is, anyone can answer from the panel, because it's a general question, since we're talking about how the past is combined with the present. Can you think of a person equivalent to Anne Lee today?
Can you? Okay.
It's true.
I don't know. Can we think of a person equivalent to Anne Lee now?
I mean, it's complicated.
It's complicated.
Mona.
Mona. Mona's the closest to Anne Lee.
That's Mother Mona.
Yes.
It's Mother Mona to you, babe.
Yes. We almost need to wrap, but I have a question for Brady and Mona. The scale of this film, as was The Brutalist, is enormous. Why this scale? It's important. It's important to you into the specific story, because it would have been simpler to make a smaller film, but this film is huge in ambition and size and difficulty.
Well, I thought she deserved that. Don't you all? Don't you think that Anne Lee deserved something that was grandiose and wonderful? Come on. Thank you. How many stories have we seen about male icons on a grand scale? How many stories, again and again and again? Can we not get to see one story about a woman like this? The only thing I could think of was Jeanne d'Arc. That's it. And I just wanted her to have this space.
You gave it to her. And unfortunately, they came to call me because we ran out of time. So thank you for the film.
Thank you.
Buongiorno, benvenuti alla conferenza stampa del nostro film in concorso The Smashing Machine. Prima di cominciare vi presento gli ospiti al tavolo a partire dalla destra in fondo. Il protagonista Dwayne Johnson. La protagonista Emily Blunt. E il regista del film Benny Safdie. So I'm going to start with an obvious question to Benny, and then I promise I'll open it up. Why Mark Kerr? Why UFC? Why the 90s? What was it that drew to this?
Well, first, I do want to say that none of us would be up here today if it wasn't for Mark Kerr, who's here right now. And
Raise, Mark, stand up. Yeah.
Okay. And just, you know, he changed our lives by allowing us to live his life, you know, feel his life and feel his emotions. And it really was just such a beautiful thing to shine a light on him and just learn from his experiences. So, yeah.
It's all very surreal for Mark because it's all very surreal for all of us.
You got to press the...
Oh, it's my first time. In Venice. No.
I just pressed mine off. I kept mine open.
Wow. It's all very surreal for Mark, and it's very clearly surreal for us too as well. But, you know, with Mark, as we have been saying, you know, Mark's life has changed our lives and certainly changed my life too as well. And, you know, as we found with the film, it's not about the wins and the losses. It's certainly about the pressure to win and the pressure to deliver and what happens when you don't deliver. But also, it's also a film about what happens when winning becomes the enemy. And we can all relate to that pressure. And I'm so happy that Mark is here with us today. And we love you, brother.
This question here.
And if I just to touch on why the 90s,
Yeah.
why mixed martial arts.
Yes.
I think about that time period, you know, there was something so experimental about what was going on. You know, you had all of these different martial arts forms competing against one another. And it was just such a unique sport. And it was also such a close-knit community where everybody knew one another and everybody loved one another. And there was such a kind of closeness amongst them. And to have that contradiction of this fighting world, but this love between them was something that was really beautiful to me. And I wanted to explore that.
And at the time, the sport was not considered, it was not highly considered, right?
Well, it was banned in a lot of places in the United States, and then it was in Japan. It was a very big deal. You know, in Brazil, there was a lot of excitement there. So it was a very international sport as well, which I thought was just really interesting. And I love the world. I love the way it looked. I love all the personalities. I love Mark. So it's just like, yeah.
Okay, right here.
Hi, Stephen Schaefer here for the Boston Herald. Congratulations. What a propulsive film, Benny, that you've done. And for Dwayne, it's like you've disappeared. We don't see you in this movie. How did you manage this transformation? And for Emily, were you surprised that there was actually a woman in this ultra hyper-masculine environment?
I would hope that. I mean, well, look, see, I would hope this as well. I was delighted that there was a woman in the midst of it, because I think there was a lot going on behind closed doors of what it means to live with a fighter, be with a fighter, the all-consuming world of that. And I got to know Dawn well, and she was very generous with her story with me, the full weather system of it, the regrets, the eruptions, the hazardous nature of the relationship at times, and the deep, profound love and devotion they had to each other amidst an impossible environment. So I think it was an incredibly exciting relationship to put on screen. I think I had been a part of a lot of relationships that essentially are more curated to a movie-fied relationship, and this just felt like the full spectrum of what a relationship really looks like. Because human beings change within the hour, you know. And I think we got to show that, you know, a mood, a shift, a vibe can change within a couple, within an hour. And it was just exciting to be able to work like that with Benny's visceral way of shooting that was so spontaneous. So it was just like the guardrails came off for us every day, and I worked with my dear friend who, it was one of the most extraordinary things seeing him completely disappear, like spooky for all of us. I remember when he walked in as Mark for the first time, like changed the air in the room. It was like everyone parted, everyone went very quiet. I'm sure that sucked for you, but it was, it was really extraordinary.
I feel like the film isn't, it's not about fighting. It's even fighting just happens to be what he did. And he at one time, you know, Stephen, he was the greatest fighter on the planet. It's a love story, and it's a love story about Mark and Dawn in this relationship, and it's a love story about Mark and the love that he had for the thing that he did, and his struggle with trying to deliver, and his overcoming his challenges. As Mark knows, as we know, you know, Mark, he OD'd twice, and he's lucky to be alive, and that's why, one of the many reasons why the story is special. And I will say that, you know, the relationship part, the transformation part, rather, was something I was really hungry to do. I had been very fortunate to have the career that I've had over the years and make the films that I've made. But there was just voice inside of me, the little voice that, well, what if I could do more? And I want to do more, and what does that look like? And from the beginning, from the time we worked on Jungle Cruise together, you know, she really encouraged and believed in me and said, you know, there's a place that you can put all the stuff that you have gone through as a kid. And I'm very close with Emily and shared a lot of everything that I've gone through. And she goes, and that place is what you love to do, which is acting. And you have me, let's do this together. And then Benny was on the other side of that saying, hey, I got you both, and let's go for it. So that transformation could not have happened without, you know, my best friend being there to support and encourage and just say, you can do it, and also I got you. And Benny, so thank you, both. Love you both.
There's a question right there.
Yes.
Lazar Chrismo for Biennale Radio. Thank you for this tremendous film. At the end, in my opinion, at least me personally, it moved me to tears. To Mr. Savdi, can you comment shortly about the also amazing songs like Jungle by Bruce Springsteen, also the Frank Sinatra cover? And for Mr. Johnson, I think you deserve an acting award, at least one. It was really good acting. What do you think was the purpose of Mr. Kerr in the beginning, and what did he learn? It doesn't matter if we're talking about the fictional interpretation of the story or the reality. What do you think did he learn in the end with that ending scene and that, let's say, smile, to not spoil anything? Really tremendous work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why don't you go first? Because it's fresh, you know, what he did.
It's fresh. It's fresh, and I'm okay. What I believe in my heart that Mark learned, and I could say this with a little bit of confidence, is because I've become very close to Mark, and he's here, and he's shared this with me and with Emily and with Benny about the thing that he learned. In the beginning of the movie, Mark has always talked about, you know how before you get ready to do something that's important to you and that's big to you and it means a lot to you, you have butterflies. It's like when we were standing backstage coming out, we all had butterflies. It's that thing. Mark had those butterflies before every fight. And Mark also talked about that could become addicting, the feeling to that. And in the beginning for Mark, who is a walking contradiction of a man who was at one time the greatest fighter on the planet, but also the most kind, gentle, tender, empathetic. Benny came up with the term radical empathy, is what Mark Kerr is and what he embodies. So this idea, in the beginning, he was fighting to survive and fighting to make money and fighting to make something of himself. But by the end, what Mark realized after his struggles with addiction, after his struggles in his relationship with Dawn, he doesn't win the big thing he's going after. And not only does he lose, but in a way he loses everything. And it's okay. And life goes on, and you move on, which is one of the reasons why Benny, I thought, really beautifully showed, without giving it away, Mark at the end, and how important that was seeing him. I'm so happy you brought that up about the music, by the way, because that's so signature, Benny Safdie and his music drops.
Yeah, and just to, before I get to that, just to touch on that moment, I remember talking to you, DJ, and just being like, what if all that pressure went away? What if you could just experience the world without that weight on your shoulders and just let it go? And then I also said there's also a very fine line between hysterically crying and hysterically laughing, you know? And if you hear it in the other room, you might not know what it is, you know, but the emotions are very close. And so it's a very emotional moment that he's going through, and I think there's a relief of, like, that pressure is gone. And I just think I love that, and it's okay. You know, these things are okay. It's okay to talk about your pain. It's okay to feel somebody else's feelings, you know? And then just about the music, that's the way I listen to music, you know, I use it to interpret how I'm feeling. You know, I'll listen to the words and I'll put it on, you know, sometimes obsessively. My wife probably hates the amount of times I listen to songs over and over and over again. But I'm listening to them because they mean something to me, and I'm hearing the words and they reflect something that's going on, and it's became a part of kind of the writing process. I wrote that song into the script, you know, the exact moment when those words will come out into the thing. So it's a very powerful thing for me, music. So I wanted to kind of attach a feeling to the music that I have for everybody watching, you know.
It's right here. No.
Good morning. I'm David Martos for Quinótico in Spain. My question is for Mr. Johnson. This is quite a serious role. You're here in Venice competing for a Golden Lion, maybe a Coppa Volpi. What does this role mean to you and your career? And you're one of the biggest stars in the world. Do you feel that you still have anything to prove to Hollywood, acting-wise?
No, I think it's more about me. And what I mean by that is just internally. And I have for a long time wanted this. And, you know, we have talked, the three of us have talked for a very, very long time about, you know, when you're in Hollywood, as we all know, and it had become about box office, and you chase the box office. And the box office in our business that we know is very loud, and it can be very resounding, and it could push you into a category and into a corner, and this is your lane, and this is what you do, and this is what people want you to be, and this is what Hollywood wants you to be. And I understood that, and I made those movies, and I liked them, and they were fun, and some were really good and did well, and some not so good. But I think what I did realize is that the most important thing, I just had this burning desire and this just voice that was saying, well, again, what if? But what if there is more? And what if I can? And a lot of times it's harder for us to, or at least for me, sometimes to know what you're capable of when you've been pigeonholed into something. It's harder to know, wait, can I do that? I feel like I can. It's harder to know that to know what you're capable of. And sometimes it takes people who you love and you respect, like Emily and Benny, to say, you can, and this is it. And then let's go create this thing, and let's go create that other thing. So I don't think it's anything to prove to Hollywood as much as it's just for me now. And the truth is, I looked around a few years ago, and I started to think, I shared this with these guys, is that, you know, am I living my dream, or am I living other people's dreams? And, you know, you come to that recognition, and I think you could either fall in line and, well, it's status quo, things are good, I don't want to rock the boat, or go, no, I want to live my dreams now and do what I want to do and tap into the stuff that I want to tap into, and have a place finally to put all this stuff that I've experienced in the past that I've shied away from, I've been scared to go deep and intense and raw until now, until I had this opportunity to do this.
And there's strength in that vulnerability, you know?
Mhm.
I think for me, it was so amazing because I felt like I could ask you to do anything, you know? And the subtlest things, and it would just get internalized and processed, and then it would come out. And then the two of you together, it just kind of created this kinetic thing. I would always say it was like pulling these moments out of the air, just like you felt it. And it was just, it was the best.
We have a question here.
Hi, I'm Lisa Foster, DPA. I have a question for Dwayne Johnson. As you turned more towards acting, what were you most glad to leave behind from your everyday life in competitive sport? Was it the pressure? Was it the protein shakes, both of which we see in the film?
It was the opportunity to grow. You know, I loved wrestling, and I had such a great time being a wrestler in that performative aspect. But it's also very bombastic, and it's very over the top, and it's very, you know, broadcasty, and so the crowds were great. I love connecting with the crowds. But also, what was interesting is back then, when I was wrestling, especially in the late 90s, that's when I met Mark Kerr for the first time. And he was this hero to all of us, who was this man who, especially as a heavyweight, he was so dominant. And I remember talking to Mark back then and being just so enamored and out of respect for his career. And it's so wild how here we are years later, and how life can come in full circle in this incredible way. So.
There's a question here. Yeah.
Hello, Helen Barlow from Australia. Sorry, Mr. Johnson, another question, but are you a big softie like Mark Kerr? I mean, we see at the end, I have a feeling you are. And second question, Jason Momoa is going to be here, your good friend, and I think he's in a Julian Schnabel film. God knows what that's going to be like. So, I mean, you both seem to be the big action star, people who are known as big action stars, coming and making a kind of announcement at this Venice Film Festival, the first festival I believe you've ever been in Europe. Is that true?
It is, yes. Am I a softie? Yes.
He's kind of like pudding underneath this. He's like...
Pudding. That's my nickname.
Pudding.
On weekends is pudding. I think one of the dynamic things about Mark Kerr is just that, he is this walking contradiction of a man who is, and also just physically back then, Mark, and now too, he's very imposing, but he also had this silhouette that was very unique to Mark Kerr. And in the beginning, Benny...
I cannot believe I even asked. But I said, Dwayne, I think you need to get a little, and I was like, how do I say this? Bigger, puffier, you know? And then you just were like, okay. And
was very specific training, because if you think about it, Mark as a amateur wrestler, there's movements that he would do constantly all day that would just build certain fast twitch muscles that, you know, I'm in my 5th level of life. I just like, when Benny Safdie says, hey, I need you to, okay, I'll try it. But he is also this contradiction that Mark is, but he's also a beautiful soul and very incredibly caring and gentle and kind, and looks through life through this lens of being like a childlike curiosity. It's just really beautiful. You saw when he stood up, he had tears in his eyes, and he was very overwhelmed by this. But so I guess I'm kind of, because we're both softies, everybody, and Benny too as well.
Yeah.
I wanted to follow up with a question to Emily, to something that we were talking, before we came on stage, and is that one of the beautiful things about this film is the combination of the size of the man and the fighting, and then and so this really overpowering masculinity, and then the tenderness that is among them. Mm-hmm. And you commented, and you said this is very much a film about masculinity, especially the 90s. Those were the real, Can you elaborate a little?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a really fantastic backdrop for a story of specifically male vulnerability. I think it's because it was such that era of 90s machismo. The invincibility of man, the kind of prowess of man, and I think you really see it amplified in this arena of MMA, UFC, just sort of exerting strength upon each other. And then, yet, this movie was never about the guy with his fist in the air. It was about the fallout afterwards and how they were cracked apart by having to maintain that image that is unrealistic for anyone, no matter your size, no matter your strength. And I think Benny was really interested in that how can we empathize with someone who appears to be so invincible, but is tender on the inside, struggles, is in pain, but has to keep this front up. It's an aching movie in that way.
Benny?
And just the idea that this sport early on, now it's this big thing, and that all these people put their bodies on the line, and achieved so much. And now it's like, okay, now let's look back at that history and see those guys who started it all. That's exciting. And at the same time, they're complicated. There's a lot of stuff underneath. Everybody's dealing with something. You don't know what somebody's dealing with. You might see them at a grocery store, and you might not even know who they are, but they may be this person,
Also, too, I'm so sorry, really quickly, I just want to point out is something I think that's important, is that what Emily represents in the movie is also this idea of sacrifice. So, sure, the fighters sacrifice. They win, they lose. Good things happen, bad things happen, but also the loved ones sacrifice too as well, but in a very different way. And what you found is, Emily in this relationship, how she was able just to bring out the just raw humanity of Dawn, who she got to know very well and has become friends with. But also, just from my vantage point, we've talked about this, I saw this. Like I saw my dad, if you guys don't know, I come from a line of professional wrestlers. And my dad was a pro wrestler before the big wrestling boom. And I know what it's like to watch the woman that he loves, watch the man that she's committed to fall in line and sacrifice her own life and her dreams for Mark's and for my dad's, and that's what Emily represents in this too as well. And you don't hear that a lot. You don't see that a lot about the wives and the girlfriends or the husbands and the loved ones. And I thought Emily just did a beautiful, brilliant job of that raw portrayal of a woman who was by Mark's side and at that time was his greatest love.
Question there.
Okay, congratulations. I just feel that I watched the modern Raging Bull. Okay,
Wow.
questions. To Mr. Safdie, even the fighting scenes are delicate, and I would like to know how did you choose your this style? This kind of films, usually fighting scenes are really important to be original. For Mr. Johnson, I would like to know if you if between the influences to bring, you know, the intimacy of this character, there has been also your father. Thank you.
So yes, so for the fight scenes, it was interesting because there's been so many fight movies, you know, that's one of the best there is, you know, so that, to say that and hear that is insane for me. I'm not gonna even address it. But I wanted to see, you know, how I could show something, you know, and I had this rule where we're not gonna go in the ring. We're gonna stay on the outside, and I said to Maceo, the cinematographer, our camera people have third-tier passes. We're gonna stay in the back, and you have to fight your way through to get to see it. Because I wanted it to feel like, as an audience, you were actually there, watching it. And so you had this kind of privileged first row seat, because what happens in the ring is for the fighters. But we're gonna have this kind of observation from the outside, you know? And it also allowed me to do some things, you know, where you could show the fights and make them feel very real. Because that was something I was obsessed with, was as real as it gets, you know, feeling everything to that level, you know. So there was a lot of time that we went through to kind of figure out and map out these fights. And they're physical. You know, these are physical things. And I remember saying to Dwayne, like, I want to see you in there. I don't want to cut away. And so that meant having to learn a lot of new techniques, because like Mark would come and he would teach everybody like that if you have your hands here, nothing's gonna happen, but an inch above, boom, you're down like that. I had the stunt coordinator, Greg Rementer, come, I said, I need you to take me down because I need to know what that feels like, you know, and you're just, all of a sudden, boom, you're down. You can't control it. And so I was like, all these things are important to me to try and understand and see it. And I actually watched a lot of the fights with the sound off, you know, the real fights, to see the movements and understand that. And then, of course, you add the sound. That's so important. But
And if I could say, you know, Benny he talks about the fighting in the ring and his approach, filmmaking-wise, to shooting it. The same could be said for our scenes where we fought and the fight happens at home. The house was built very specifically to hide the cameras, and that was one of the things I feel like in the big final fight that happens between Mark and Don. We didn't see a camera, didn't see a lighting setup. It was just the house and just us, and we were there. And which lent itself to just living in the moment and being, as Benny said, as real as it can be.
I can't tell you how many times like we would finish a scene and then we would all just give each other a hug because
we were just,
yeah, we all just felt like we were in it, you know, together and just feeling these things. And
Dwayne, I think the second part of the question was that if your father was an inspiration in any ways, and the tenderness and of the character.
I don't think my dad was an inspiration in terms of his tenderness. It wasn't really my dad. He was homeless by the time he was 13, so his capacity for love was very limited, and that's the man that raised me. It's tough love, but I think what Mark lived with for a very long time, and I think in some ways, you know, it's why he's beautiful. He works his way through this stuff. There's also a tremendous amount of shame involved, and I think, and I think that's what my dad lived with for a long time. I think, and then my dad suddenly passed away a few years ago, 2020. So I think that he was a man who struggled, my dad, but also the part that inspired me playing Mark Kerr wasn't the shame part, because we all deal with that. It was more, I'm hungry for something and I want to go after it and I believe in this thing and I'm going to put in the work to get it done and to do it with my own two hands. That's what Mark Kerr does, and that's what my dad did. Thank you for the question, by the way, because I always want to try to do my best to, like remember the good stuff,
Yeah. I'm sorry, we run out of time, so we have to finish this. Thank you for the film. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
mettiamo anche gli altri. Vinicio. Eccoci, buongiorno, anzi buon pomeriggio, benvenuti alla conferenza stampa di Orfeo. Vi presento subito gli ospiti al palco, al tavolo, a partire dal produttore Giulio San Giorgio. Anna Ciammetti per l'animazione, responsabile dell'animazione che ci faremo raccontare, Sara Costantini, costumi. L'autore della colonna sonora Angelo Trabace, lo sceneggiatore Alberto Fornari, gli interpreti Vinicio Marchioni, Giulia Maenza e Luca Vergoni e il regista Virgilio Villoresi. Virgilio, vorrei cominciare con una domanda io per te. Viviamo, insomma, la proiezione di questo film ci ha condotto proprio in un'immersione visiva, sensoriale, ci sentiamo veramente circondati da questo film. Come si lavora a un'impostazione del genere che mescola anche linguaggi diversi? Come hai lavorato? Se spingi il bottone, ecco.
Il film l'ho sempre concepito come un luogo come sogno, no? Ha proprio l'andamento di un sogno, anche nell'associazione delle immagini, nel ritmo. Insomma, volevo proprio che lo spettatore si immergesse all'interno della sala e vivesse, si facesse trasportare da queste visioni oniriche. Cioè proprio a livello concettuale ho pensato proprio a costruirlo, ma già dalla fase di riscrittura, poi montaggio, a costruire il film come se fosse proprio un viaggio onirico.
Mm-hmm. E i vari linguaggi che hai usato, appunto il cinema di animazione, quello sperimentale, fanno parte del tuo background, insomma, sono quelli con cui lavori sempre?
Sì, no, ma io sono molto appassionato di cinema sperimentale, anche quando facevo i live media nei club, prima di iniziare a fare animazione. In questi live media io creavo proprio dei veri montaggi in found footage. Però cos'è così utilizzavano il found footage? I film di Maya Deren, il cinema direct di Stan Brakhage, poi appunto Jean Cocteau, Len Lai, e per non parlare di Jordan Belson. Ecco, tutte queste cose, cinema astratto, cinema appunto non narrativo, no? Che comunque avevano anche molto a che fare col sogno, questi film, soprattutto Maya Deren, no? Un viaggio nell'inconscio della protagonista, in un film meraviglioso. E cercato un po' di trasportare questa mia passione un po' particolare, no? Un po' inusuale, non so quanti sono appassionati. L'ho cercato un po' di portare all'interno di un film, del mio primo lungometraggio. E quindi sì, ha molto a che fare con questo tipo di cinema. Anche l'animazione, ad esempio, sono cresciuto con la Nouvelle Vague polacca, mi piacciono molti film di Valerian Borowski, Jalenica, cioè sono tutti film che comunque hanno influenzato anche dei piccoli frame, dei piccoli segmenti di Orfeo, no? Ho cercato comunque di mettere tutto il mio amore e la mia passione verso questo tipo di cinema che forse non conoscono in tanti, ma come diceva Maya Deren, forse è per quelli che amano veramente questo tipo di cose, come se fossero
degli eletti, no? Lei parlava di Tempio di Temenos, Maya Deren, cioè
certo.
come un cinema per eletti, no? Quindi niente, sono influenzato da queste correnti
Certo.
molto particolari. Poi c'è anche il cinema classico, perché anche la loro storia d'amore all'inizio ho cercato, no, di raccontarla attraverso sguardi, distanze. Mi piaceva questa cosa qui che spesso usata nel cinema hollywoodiano degli anni 50, penso tipo al ritratto di Jenny, William de Terle, ma anche Hitchcock. Mi piaceva insomma anche lì, anche nella parte più realistica del film, citare questo tipo di linguaggio.
Certo. E nella graphic novel di Buzzati cosa avete trovato, diciamo, di aderente poi al vostro modo di fare cinema? Anche questo magari ci risponde anche Alberto, come avete lavorato su questo. Possiamo definirla la prima graphic novel italiana?
Sì, è considerata. Pare di sì. Sì.
Ok. Ecco, che corrispondenze avete trovato in questo testo, nelle sue immagini?
Rispondo io.
Sentiamo Alberto magari poi.
Ma chi conosce il poema Fumetti, che sì, è considerata comunque la prima graphic novel italiana nel 69, sa che si tratta di un'opera che è ricchissima, possiamo definirla anche un'opera mondo, nel senso è piena di concetti, di tematiche. Buzzati ha inserito dentro tutto quello che era un po' il suo interesse, quindi le sue passioni, le sue anche ossessioni, tutte le sue idee sul mondo, sulla vita, anche sulla morte in questo caso ovviamente. Quello che ha fatto Buzzati era un'opera ricchissima, appunto dicevo, e che agisce a livello narrativo sulla digressione, quindi lavora moltissimo su queste digressioni. C'era la necessità di strutturare un racconto che avesse una possibilità narrativa più logica, quindi trovare una struttura nella quale muoverci, quindi una struttura anche un po' classica, no? Una classica storia restaurativa in 3 atti, anche con degli equilibri un po' spostati, ma quello è. Ci siamo concentrati poi invece sulla possibilità che Buzzati ci dava con le sue immagini e con i suoi concetti di agire a livello onirico, visionario, come sa fare benissimo Virgilio, però dentro una struttura che ci desse la possibilità di darci una sorta di solidità. Quindi abbiamo concentrato la parte visionaria onirica, diciamo, nei singoli bit della sceneggiatura, quindi nelle singole scene, nelle intuizioni visive, più che in una linea narrativa che abbiamo cercato di ricomporre, perché di fatto, essendo già di suo un romanzo a fumetti, ma un romanzo in qualche modo destrutturato,
certo.
Avevamo l'esigenza di lavorare un po' al contrario rispetto a come si fa un adattamento normalmente, dove si va a decostruire alla maniera degli strutturalisti un'opera per andare a individuare quali sono le possibilità specifiche anche nei dettagli delle singole scene, diciamo quelle che potessero essere più funzionali a una trasposizione cinematografica. In questo caso noi abbiamo in qualche modo dovuto prima ricostruire una storia, una linea narrativa, per poi dare la possibilità a Virgilio invece di farsi ispirare direttamente all'interno delle visioni che erano quelle di Buzzati. Quindi abbiamo preso molte tavole di Buzzati che erano messe all'interno di digressioni, le abbiamo fatte rientrare in questa linea narrativa e le immagini stesse sono state sono state in grado di di ispirare Virgilio durante il pensiero e la scrittura. Penso ad alcune tavole che erano inserite in un determinato modo e che invece sono state sviluppate da Virgilio in un altro, e quelle stesse ispirazioni ha ispirato ulteriormente altre scene, quindi è stato un lavoro proprio quasi un work in progress, è stato scritto anche durante questo film, non soltanto prima, è stato scritto durante e anche in montaggio in qualche modo. Quindi è stato un lavoro anche quasi di collage, che però ci dava la certezza di essere coerenti con Buzzati, proprio perché Buzzati stesso ha inserito tutto il suo mondo narrativo e letterario che aveva già fatto negli altri libri, ha voluto inserirlo qua dentro come se fosse un'opera a testamento, quindi noi potevamo attingere
di tutte le...
ovunque.
Sì. Se ci sono delle domande alzate la mano. Vorrei chiedere a Luca, Vinicio e Giulia se diciamo, l'utilizzo di un linguaggio così fuori dal comune, diciamo la verità, questa è un'opera sperimentale, sfidante anche per lo spettatore e per questo interessante. In che modo il linguaggio, questo linguaggio poi influisce sul lavoro dell'attore, se lo si affronta in maniera diversa? Ecco, come è cambiato il vostro lavoro di attori rispetto a film, diciamo, dalla struttura narrativa più tradizionale? Vuoi cominciare, Luca?
Ok, allora inizio io. Sicuramente il primo pensiero che ho avuto è stato più che altro una sorta di fortuna, perché come dici te non è così comune trovare qualcuno che abbia questa voglia di creare un'opera d'arte partendo da un artigianato cinematografico molto più complicato di quello che si pensi, poi nonostante venga fatto da anni, però Virgilio l'ha ritirato molto fuori questo. Attorialmente parlando, naturalmente c'è stata una preparazione più intellettuale all'inizio, e poi quando si arriva sul set è più fisica per capire bene come muoversi all'interno di scenografie ricostruite. Poi è stato un lavoro molto lungo perché sono stati 2 anni di produzione e questo comunque faceva sì che noi dovevamo girare scene con mesi di distanza l'una dall'altra. Però sicuramente il girare con personaggi inventati in un mondo immaginifico ricreato dal vivo è stato divertentissimo, cioè si rientra un po' in quella soddisfazione della recitazione come gioco. Poi mi ricorda anche molto magari una modalità teatrale di muoversi all'interno di questo mondo, e a me ha fatto molto piacere poter sperimentare insieme a Virgilio. Poi con lui mi sono sentito molto libero di appunto creare un dialogo sempre fra di noi in modo che potessimo sempre raggiungere il punto necessario alla scena, quindi mi ritengo fortunato e divertito.
No, anch'io come Luca sicuramente ho immediatamente sviluppato una grande stima e ascolto nei confronti di Virgilio, perché le sue idee mi sembravano delle cose che non avevo mai conosciuto sia nelle mie varie altre piccole, poche esperienze che ho avuto cinematografiche, ma anche crescendo. Era un cinema che non conoscevo, quindi ho imparato tantissimo. Poi il linguaggio comunque che ha adottato si è tradotto pian pianino anche grazie ai costumi. Sono riuscita di Sara Costantini, appunto, sono riuscita a entrare sempre di più col personaggio, in contatto con questa linea sottile che è la realtà che Eura viveva e il mistero che in realtà vediamo e leggiamo dietro i suoi occhi di questa tragica fine. Poi anche la musica, quindi la preparazione è stata molto lunga, 2 anni e mezzo per girare il film. Ho incontrato Virgilio 3 anni e mezzo fa. C'è stato un grande lavoro, però ci ha accompagnati durante anche l'attesa di arrivare sul set con materiali, con musica che già stava nascendo, quindi la sceneggiatura, ma anche tanto i sapori degli altri componenti del film. E la cosa molto bella era anche tornare in uno studio a Milano e trovarlo cambiato ogni volta, perché ovviamente c'erano le scenografie che cambiavano, i costumi che crescevano, diventavano sempre più fantastici e magici, i personaggi fantastici che hanno creato, le melusine. Era come entrare dentro un sogno.
Vinicio, tu sei il diavolo custode, no?
In realtà io faccio veramente una piccolissima partecipazione nel film e sono felicissimo di essere riuscito ad incastrarci con i tempi, le tempistiche di Virgilio. Noi ci eravamo conosciuti anni fa in giuria ad un festival di Pesaro e lì è successo un incontro, diciamo, tra noi due, e quando mi ha chiamato per offrirmi questa piccola partecipazione ho fatto di tutto per poterci essere, perché volevo assolutamente entrare nell'immaginario di un artista come lui. Non uso una parola casuale di cui si fa un abuso enorme secondo me in questo periodo. 2 anni fa credo che te l'ho detto la prima volta, secondo me lui è il Georges Méliès del 2025. E questa cosa, in un'epoca di intelligenze artificiali, di prodotti che devono entrare sempre di più in delle piccole caselline di produzioni fatte in un certo modo, lavorare ed entrare nell'immaginario, essere nelle mani, fisicamente essere nelle mani di un artista come lui ed essere quindi uno strumento nelle sue mani, è stato un piacere enorme e auguro al film e ai suoi due protagonisti la miglior vita possibile. Poi naturalmente dopo questo film Virgilio chiamerà attori come Brad Pitt, Robert Downey Jr., si dimenticherà della mia piccola partecipazione, ma secondo me è un film gigantesco che può lasciare un grandissimo segnale proprio per la sua artigianalità, per tornare a riflettere su che cosa significa il processo creativo di un film, che cosa significa avere intorno delle professionalità gigantesche. E parlo delle musiche, dei costumi meravigliosi, parlo delle scene, delle persone che costruiscono, dipingono e fanno sì che quel set sembri vero e crei quell'illusione magica che è il cinema, e credo che l'importanza di questo film risieda in tutte queste cose qua, quindi grazie mille Virgilio.
Mi sembra di capire che tutti i comparti, chiamiamoli così, abbiano lavorato contemporaneamente, no? Anche questa è una cosa abbastanza insolita, e anche la parte che riguarda l'animazione si è sviluppata contemporaneamente al resto del film. E quindi volevo sapere da Anna come ha sviluppato. Giustamente venivano citate le medusine, ma poi c'è la giacca. Ecco, come avete lavorato su quello per renderlo così, una parte così integrante di tutto il processo?
Sì, io parlo anche a nome dell'animatrice Stefania De Micheli e di Umberto Chiodi che ha fatto le animazioni 2D. C'è stata una parte di integrazione di live action e di animazione stop motion che è stata anche complessa, penso, a livello di produzione da organizzare, perché ci davamo il cambio con Luca soprattutto, per cui lui entrava in scena, girava la sua scena, recitava e poi dopo entravamo noi e con un video di riferimento di quello che aveva fatto prima con lo stesso punto macchina iniziavamo ad animare la giacca o le melusine, gli scheletri. Sì. Erano in scala 1:1, quindi erano anche più alti di noi.
Certo.
Sì. E una delle animazioni forse più difficili è stata quella delle melusine, perché sono questi esseri mitologici che da buzzati sono disegnati come una testa con un codino e questi capelli che fluttuano nell'aria, lunghi capelli che fluttuano nell'aria, e quindi noi li dovevamo animare ogni ciocca di questi capelli. Quindi Luca può essere pure che aspettava ore prima di poter recitare la seconda parte della scena.
Digli quanti secondi riusciamo a fare?
Al giorno, sì, per dare un'idea, al giorno noi riusciamo a fare in media 5 secondi.
5 secondi al giorno.
Quindi abbiamo lavorato anche noi durante 2 anni, però in blocchi di 1 mese ciascuno, intervallati da anche la live action o la costruzione delle scenografie. E comunque è stato un lavoro molto complesso.
Poi abbiamo girato con la Bolex.
E in più c'è stata questa novità aggiunta che l'abbiamo girato in pellicola. Quindi
in 16 mm, certo.
Sì, abbiamo inserito una microcamera dentro l'oculare della Bolex.
Per avere un riferimento, per poter capire cosa stessimo facendo, perché sennò avremmo animato come
alla cieca.
alla cieca. Agli animatori ciechi proprio, alla svammaia.
Sì, una follia girare con la Bolex comunque, è stata una follia.
Sì, anche perché dovevamo aspettare a smontare la scena almeno 2 giorni, il tempo che arrivasse quello che avevamo fatto, il tempo di sviluppare la pellicola che arrivasse, quindi non potevamo smontare il set perché se c'era qualcosa che non avevamo visto di sbagliato, dovevamo ripetere poi la scena. Questo non è successo, in verità.
Ce la facciamo andare bene molto spesso. No?
Sì.
E tra i grandi protagonisti del film naturalmente ci sono anche i costumi che molti di voi hanno già citato, insomma questi così spettacolari, surrealisti. Se hai avuto dei modelli a cui ti sei ispirato, e quanto poi i costumi hanno contribuito a creare l'identità, no, di questi personaggi, di dare identità alla storia?
Beh, allora, diciamo che con Virgilio abbiamo sempre avuto un rapporto di scambio creativo continuo di immagini, perché fondamentalmente ci piacciono un po' gli stessi movimenti d'avanguardia di primo Novecento, surrealismo tedesco, fino ad arrivare al primo cinema americano. Sempre stiamo parlando di un periodo di avanguardia, sono tutti movimenti artistici d'avanguardia. Questo, diciamo, per rispondere alla domanda delle ispirazioni. Però in parallelo i costumi si sono mossi in due strade, una strada più vicina, fedele a quello che il poema fumetti raccontava, quindi agli stessi personaggi che c'erano all'interno del libro, che dovevano in un qualche modo essere il più fedeli possibili, e poi c'è stata la parte del sogno, dove in realtà i costumi si sono fusi totalmente con le ambientazioni, con le scenografie. C'è stato per esempio questo aneddoto delle gemelle, dove mi ricordo Virgilio mi chiamò e mi disse: sto prendendo questa scenografia bellissima, vorrei che queste due donne uscissero direttamente come se uscissero dai muri. E da lì, e qui mi collego a tutto il discorso della artigianalità, abbiamo creato dei gioielli che ricordassero esattamente le decorazioni della scenografia, mentre invece per esempio il costume della sacerdotessa volevo che ci fosse una sorta di contrasto con tutta questa scenografia Art Nouveau, e quindi ci siamo indirizzati su un qualcosa di un pochino più geometrico, come se lei vestisse una sorta di architettura, indossasse dell'architettura, proprio per andare contro all'Art Nouveau, che c'era tutta questa ricchezza dietro, ovviamente facendo delle grosse citazioni. Diciamo che entrambi, e ho inserito all'interno di Orfeo tutte le visioni e le passioni che mi hanno accompagnato in questi anni, soprattutto per i costumi. Questo è.
E invece Angelo, cosa ti ha chiesto Virgilio per questo film? Che tipo di lavoro ti ha chiesto?
Virgilio, come diceva Giulia Menza prima, è un grande ascoltatore, quindi si è posto fin da subito in ascolto della mia musica, è venuto ai miei concerti, mi ha studiato e parallelamente mi ha dato molta libertà, ho sentito molta fiducia nei miei confronti, e quindi ho avuto la possibilità di scrivere dei temi prima ancora di vedere il film, cosa che non succede quasi mai. Quindi lui ha girato delle sequenze su delle musiche che gli ho inviato, e per un compositore credo che questa sia una cosa, un atto di libertà creativo. Io mi sono rifatto sostanzialmente a quella che è la musica del Novecento, penso a Claude Debussy, agli arrangiamenti orchestrali di Ravel, usando appunto, cercando di andare incontro alla sua artigianalità, e quindi usando prevalentemente strumenti acustici, un pianoforte, archi, violini, violoncelli. Ho usato anche il pianoforte smembrato in alcuni punti dove appunto percuotevo le corde, perché è un po' la storia della musica di questo pianista, nella quale naturalmente, essendo pianista io, mi sono immedesimato tantissimo. È una storia di frantumazione dell'artista in sé, perché io ho immaginato una colonna sonora che partiva appunto con questo pianista narcisista, ma che poi attraverso il dolore e la perdita è come se prendesse consapevolezza anche dei propri limiti. È come se in Orfeo viene condensato proprio la consapevolezza del fallimento dell'arte e allo stesso tempo l'illusione che qualcosa di quello che facciamo noi artisti, creativi, possa restare. E questa è la grande domanda e la grande sfida che si pone l'arte, e che secondo me ha fatto sì che tutti partecipassero con entusiasmo, perché ognuno, secondo me, chi si approccia a questo lavoro in maniera creativa non può che immedesimarsi in Orfeo, come figura mitologica e come emblema proprio della concezione dell'arte che ho io personalmente.
E Angelo ha appena detto, ha parlato di atto di libertà creativa che forse è necessario anche da parte di un produttore che si accinge a puntare, a investire in un'opera del genere.
Sì, no, devo dire, non voglio prendermi i meriti non miei, la produzione di questo film è tutta opera della costanza e della follia o della visionarietà di Virgilio, che molto meglio di me vi potrà spiegare come è stato prodotto il film. Io lo accompagno come Fantasmagoria, che è un progetto che in realtà vuole avere anche uno slancio, e questo è una sorta di primo passo, no? Di indicazione del cinema che in qualche modo questa casa di produzione vuole fare, però come dire, davvero sui metodi produttivi qui è Virgilio, che ovviamente questo è un film a sua misura e quindi solo lui può dire bene come è stato fatto.
Vuoi?
Sì. È lunga.
Facciamola breve.
No, la cosa interessante è che è stato fatto tutto all'interno del mio studio, no? Della mia casa, in un atelier, non è stato girato in teatro di posa professionale adibiti a produzioni cinematografiche, ma è proprio alla fine nel mio studio. Quindi la cosa bella è che a livello produttivo potevo sperimentare, potevo costruire le scenografie giorni prima, fare le prove. Insomma, è stato un film che aveva l'andamento più forse di un processo creativo legato all'arte che all'industria cinematografica. Quindi in questo senso autoprodurlo mi ha permesso di creare un'opera totalmente libera, cioè proprio un'opera dove non avevo nessun vincolo, l'unico vincolo ero io stesso, quindi è stato proprio a livello produttivo una sorta di trampolino creativo dove io potevo esprimere tutta la mia immaginazione in modo totalmente libero.
Certo. Dobbiamo fermarci qui, vi ringrazio, grazie a tutti.
Grazie.
Grazie a voi.
Ci sediamo. Buon pomeriggio a tutti e benvenuti alla conferenza stampa di Portobello. Vi presento subito gli ospiti al tavolo, a cominciare dai produttori: Laura Carafoli, HBO Original, Simone Gattoni, Cavac Film, e Lorenzo Mieli, Our Film. Lo sceneggiatore Stefano Bises, gli interpreti Romana Maggiora Vergano, Barbara Bobulova, Lino Musella e Fabrizio Gifoni. E il regista e sceneggiatore Marco Bellocchio. L'ho detto. Vi ricordo che la serie è composta da 6 puntate, da 60 minuti, su HBO Max entro il primo trimestre del 2026. Vorrei cominciare, attendo le vostre domande naturalmente, vorrei cominciare con una domanda per Marco. Cosa ti interessava esplorare attraverso la storia di questo clamoroso errore giudiziario? Cos'altro ti interessava indagare? Deve schiacciare. Aspetta.
Grazie. No, ci sono delle casualità e non è che la vita è fatta di programmi da rispettare rigidamente. È stato la casualità di leggere un libro che mi aveva mandato Francesca Scoppellitti, Lettera a Francesca, e ho letto, ma in un tempo che non mi ricordo, insomma, queste lettere di Enzo dal carcere, ed effettivamente lui parlava di particolari, tanti dettagli che suscitarono in me un interesse per il personaggio, poiché sì, io lo conoscevo fin da ragazzo, da bambino, insomma, mi ricordo Campanile Sera, a Bobbio lo vedevo nei bar, quando le televisioni erano nei bar, si andava al bar alla sera, però ai tempi di Portobello io ero già, facevo altre cose, avevo altri interessi, insomma, e quindi non è che andassi a Roma la sera davanti alla televisione a vedere Portobello. Ma era qualcosa, il personaggio mi era sostanzialmente estraneo, non mi era antipatico come poi hanno detto alcuni, ma mi era estraneo. Ma il giorno, il 17 giugno, quando tutte le televisioni parlarono di questo arresto, di quest'uomo ammanettato che usciva dalla caserma, degli insulti che subiva, è come se il suo stupore mi stupì, ecco. E da lì, insomma, si fa sempre così. Ho visto un interesse immediato di poterlo fare e quindi con Bises e poi abbiamo incominciato a impostare un soggetto, le sceneggiature, e siamo andati avanti così, ecco. Forse ho detto qualcosa di troppo, non so, o di troppo poco.
Adesso andiamo avanti. Mi sembra di capire, insomma, dalle prime 2 puntate che abbiamo visto tutti, che ci sia la voglia di concentrarsi sul privato di Tortora, sui suoi rapporti, soprattutto con le persone che gli stavano intorno, e che questa sua lotta per dimostrare la propria innocenza sia anche una battaglia per riconquistare la propria identità, no? Mi sembra che questo discorso sull'identità si preannuncia importante.
Sì, ma un'identità nuova, cioè lui a quel punto diventa un altro. Prima il grande presentatore, il primo con Baudo, con Corrado e Mike Bongiorno, erano i 4 moschettieri, insomma, della televisione, erano i grandi conquistatori dell'audience. Lui forse in quel momento era ancora più importante. Mi ricordo su una copertina di Grand Hotel c'era la caricatura di Mike Bongiorno e una di Tortora, e il giornale diceva che il tasso il gradimento di Tortora fosse leggermente superiore a quello di Mike Bongiorno, cioè era il primo, ecco. Però a me, insomma, lì il discorso, in questo senso vorrei che parlasse anche Stefano, perché noi avevamo questa immensa materia che era Portobello che significava tante cose, e poi questo avvicinamento progressivo della camorra che ad un certo punto si tocca con il destino di Tortora, e quindi era necessario strutturare soprattutto la prima in parallelo, cioè il destino, la fortuna di Enzo Tortora, le sue vicende private e questo camorrista Giovanni Pandico che odia Tortora, lo odia senza conoscerlo, vedendolo, perché dice e crede di avere con Tortora anche un rapporto quasi telepatico. E però la sua confessione, il suo pentimento nascerà poi dal fatto di sentirsi abbandonato da Cutolo e quindi sentirsi solo, sentire che i pentimenti si moltiplicano e quindi cominciare a imbeccato non maliziosamente dai giudici su un'agendina in cui c'è scritto un nome che non è quello di Tortora, di dire sì, è lui, e da lì nasce tutto.
Stefano, vuoi?
Questo è veramente l'incredibile casualità di questa storia, ed è una storia, e questo ha reso un pochino più complicato, diciamo, il lavoro di costruzione seriale, dove ogni personaggio è irresistibile, ogni personaggio coinvolto in questa vicenda. Tortora è una figura estremamente complessa e stratificata, Fabrizio insomma vi dirà. Pandico è un personaggio straordinario, i giudici, gli altri accusatori di Tortora, e tutti compongono come un ritratto del paese, in un momento in cui il paese sta cambiando, perché appunto siamo gli anni '80, no? Evidentemente, in cui Tortora quasi è una creatura del passato che cerca di proiettarsi in una nuova era, un uomo che ha inventato la televisione che guardiamo oggi, cioè Portobello era 15 programmi che ancora oggi hanno tantissimo successo, e più entravamo in questo mondo e più trovavamo aspetti super affascinanti in questa storia, proprio di affresco, e più era più complicato tenerli in qualche modo tutti insieme. Poi Marco ha fatto, insomma, un po' il miracolo.
Ci sono delle domande? Ecco lì, prego.
Hello, this is Yanis from Greece. Hello again, Mr. Bellocchio. This is a question for you. It's astonishing. Your whole career is astonishing. But what interests me a lot is that your latest TV, or at least not cinema, work is so modern. But what also is very interesting is that you seem to be fascinated on the past. I mean, in stories from the past. Do you find that those stories from other eras are more fascinating than contemporary stories?
No, sì, sono affascinato dal passato, ma sia per esempio il personaggio di Aldo Moro, sia per il personaggio di Buscetta, sia per il personaggio di Tortora, c'è sempre qualcosa, a parte il fatto che io sono nato, non è un passato dell'Ottocento, io quando ero giovane conoscevo questi personaggi, li avevo vissuti, ma soprattutto in tutte queste esperienze ho individuato, ho trovato, ho cercato e trovato qualcosa di, non dico di autobiografico, ma di molto personale, per permettere a questa storia di diventare qualcosa di vivace, di vivente, non soltanto una cronaca o una storia esatta dei fatti come erano avvenuti. Poi c'è sempre, anche nel caso di Tortora, a parte il riconoscimento della sua completa innocenza, poi voi lo vedrete nelle 4 puntate che voi non avete visto, ma anche tutta una serie di occasioni. Faccio un esempio. Quando Pandico insulta dentro il televisore Tortora, ma questo non credo che sia avvenuto, non lo so, poteva essere avvenuto, non lo so, ecco, per dire quanto anche una mia dimensione teatrale, pur non avendo mai fatto l'attore, ma amando il teatro e gli attori, ci sia in questi innesti improvvisi di cose non verificate non verificabili dalla storia. Questa è la fantasia che noi dobbiamo obbligatoriamente ci dobbiamo permettere, insomma, proprio per dare una dimensione più profonda al nostro racconto.
C'era un'altra domanda, sì, prego.
Complimenti maestro Bellocchio, l'applauso di questa platea di giornalisti, molti giovanissimi, è molto indicativo. Però mi chiedo se, al di là dei giovani che comunque hanno sentito parlare di Tortora, per un pubblico straniero per il quale il caso Tortora non è stato sulle cronache come da noi, ecco, questo lavoro ha pensato, cioè a questo fatto che lei nel realizzarlo, no, lei aveva pensato alla sua visione della storia, però sicuramente deve aver considerato anche questo aspetto. E poi ho una seconda domanda di carattere giudiziario. Io non sono un'esperta di diritto, però credo che oggi non si prenda una persona e si porti in carcere con le manette come è avvenuto allora, quindi qualcosa è cambiato un po' a beneficio degli indagati.
No, vabbè, sulla seconda, Fabrizio, tu hai una scienza giudiziaria ben superiore, perché tu volevi fare l'avvocato, volevi fare il giudice. No, il discorso del fuori dall'Italia si gioca, ecco, sulla nostra capacità di fare dei personaggi che possano interessare anche in Francia o in Germania, come in parte modestamente è avvenuto anche, non so, per Moro, ecco, non è che è lì che la drammaturgia deve vincere. Ed è lì, esatto. E quindi il montaggio, la musica, adesso vedete che sono molto ecumenico, però è vero, è verissimo, insomma. È solo, allora in questo senso maggiore è la nostra capacità di fantasticare, di essere fantasiosi, quanto più c'è la possibilità, la speranza che il nostro lavoro possa possa emozionare anche al di là delle Alpi, come si diceva a scuola, al di là delle Alpi. No, perché tu sei figlio di avvocati, di giudici, No, perché diceva il fatto giuridico.
No, ma io mi improvviso. Io, in un'altra epoca ho studiato un po' di giurisprudenza. No, sicuramente, ma è una cosa abbastanza nota. La vicenda di Tortora cambia anche la storia e aggiorna i due codici penali e di procedura penale, cioè questa vicenda che ha segnato una ferita enorme fa sì che nasca un altro codice. Questo codice è molto più garantista rispetto a un codice precedente che era di tipo dichiaratamente e proprio formalmente inquisitorio, si diceva, cioè in cui le garanzie degli imputati e degli avvocati, soprattutto nella fase istruttoria, erano molto simili a quel romanzo mirabolante di Franz Kafka che si chiama Il processo, cioè una macchina oscura in cui potevi essere imprigionato senza sapere perché, e quindi da questo punto di vista ne abbiamo parlato anche tanto con Marco a proposito di fantasia, di dettagli, di immaginazione, quanto quelle prime 4 righe del romanzo di Kafka racchiudano tutta questa vicenda, no? Una mattina Joseph K, senza aver fatto nulla di male, qualcuno venne a bussare alla sua porta vabbè, questo non saprei cos'altro dire certo racconta anche un cambiamento ed è importante che lo racconti, però insomma, come diceva Marco, questa è una storia terribile e molto complessa perché è fatta di tanti strati. Ad esempio Stefano parlava della casualità. Per me questo è stato ad esempio un tema che io ho cercato perché ci puoi passare una vita a capire come in un caso di questo genere quanto abbia contato la casualità, che sicuramente c'è stata, perché tutta questa storia dei centrini, questa ossessione di Pandico che nasceva da un compagno di cella che cuciva i centrini, li mandava al mercatino di Portobello per sperare che fossero venduti e soprattutto avere un po' di gloria dal fondo di quella prigione, e poi questi centrini vanno persi, allora questa cosa diventa un'ossessione. Questa è casualità, è inimmaginabile che ci sia un piano prestabilito che parte da 6 anni prima, però allo stesso tempo puoi passare tanto tempo a pensare e a ricostruire le tracce di quello che è accaduto fino a quel momento. Ad esempio, questo personaggio di straordinaria popolarità, come raccontava Marco e come sapete, una popolarità inimmaginabile rispetto ad oggi, amato da 28 milioni di italiani che lo seguivano, avendo una fiducia totale anche, era un'epoca in cui quello che diceva la televisione e quello che dicevano i giornali aveva una credibilità, a torto o a ragione, enorme, gigantesca. Ecco, tutta questa popolarità, com'è possibile che nel momento in cui questa persona subisce nelle prime ore un inciampo, c'è un intero paese, un altro paese, lo stesso paese, che gli salta la gola e non vede l'ora di sbranarlo e di divorarlo? Ecco, questo interrogativo apre tante questioni interessanti e universali, cioè è il successo, è la fama, è l'invidia, è una specie di istinto barbaro per cui ognuno di noi conserva dentro di sé la speranza di veder cadere una persona potente, una persona famosa, o c'è dell'altro? Facendo questa indagine si scoprono tante cose anche del personaggio Tortora, quanto questo personaggio, al di là di Portobello, fosse una persona libera, controcorrente, ispida nei giudizi, una persona che non a caso quando arriva a Portobello esce da 7 anni di esilio a cui è stato condannato dalla televisione di Stato perché si è permesso di dire con totale libertà e impudenza che la televisione pubblica era un baraccone, un jet guidato da un gruppo di dissennati, e per questo lui viene tagliato fuori. E ci sono tante tracce importanti che, se si seguono, si capisce anche un po' meglio perché ci fosse una parte del paese pronto ad azzannarlo, perché c'era una parte d'Italia che aveva qualche conto in sospeso. Ad esempio Tortora si era battuto più di ogni altra persona per la liberalizzazione delle emittenti televisive. Prima esisteva soltanto la televisione di Stato. Tortora si batte in quei 7 anni, lavora incessantemente perché nascano altre televisioni. Questo era qualcosa che era molto sgradito. E poi si scoprono tante altre cose, leggendo quello che lui scriveva, che al di là di questo personaggio, anche con questo aplomb inglese che molti detestavano, c'era una persona che aveva una capacità di giudizio molto più coraggiosa di tanti altri. Sono gli anni in cui vengono fuori gli elenchi della P2, se voi vi andate a leggere quello che scrive Tortora nei confronti dei suoi colleghi e nei confronti della politica italiana, c'è da saltare sulla sedia. E allora, mettendo insieme tutto questo grande quadro, come diceva Marco e come diceva, viene fuori una storia molto complessa, che è una storia universale, misteriosa, casuale, politica, italiana, e tutto questo è, insomma, per una storia così complessa ci vuole un regista gigantesco come Marco. È così. Lasciamo stare, chiudiamo.
Lino, invece sul tuo personaggio volevo chiederti questo: come hai lavorato per restituire tutto quello che c'è dietro questa apparente follia, anzi la follia è tutt'altro che apparente, però non è possibile ridurre il personaggio di Panico alla pura follia, alla pura... come hai lavorato per dare spessore e sostanza e storia e umanità a questo personaggio?
Ma è una cosa che mi è stata richiesta tutti i giorni, quello di portare questo personaggio a uno stato di autenticità nel divertimento e quindi mostrare sempre un lato interiore. Chiaramente è un personaggio che è esistito. Io mi sono leggermente informato, ho visto delle foto e l'ho ascoltato per qualche minuto. Ho capito più o meno che tipo di sonorità aveva e questo ho portato al provino. Quindi questa cosa ha coinciso con probabilmente con una possibilità di raccontare un personaggio del genere, perché aveva sicuramente un aspetto folle, ma come mi diceva Marco continuamente è sobrio. Quindi mi riportava sempre a questa, perché chiaramente i personaggi maschera sono sempre difficili, perché poi quindi lui appena vedeva che io stavo subito mi riportava a fuoco e quindi mi chiedeva continuamente verità, ecco. Questo.
Invece Romana e Barbara, voi interpretate 2 personaggi femminili molto devoti a Enzo Tortora, ognuno a modo suo, e di entrambe non si conosce moltissimo, no? Perché sono state un po' in disparte, insomma, sono state grandi protagoniste di questa vicenda, ma non conosciamo molto di loro. Come avete lavorato per costruire questi personaggi?
Allora io devo dire che per me Portobello, essendo nata, cresciuta dietro la cortina di ferro, ovviamente non mi diceva niente, quindi ero una bambina e come diceva Marco, ero dietro le Alpi, quindi sono cresciuta proprio in un altro mondo e mi sono dovuta documentare, studiarmi questa storia. La conoscevo semplicemente come un caso di malagiustizia. niente di più. Quindi ho letto tutti i libri, soprattutto mi hanno molto colpito questi libri che erano tutte lettere che Tortora scrisse dal carcere, lettere a Francesca, cara Silvia, che forse è quello che mi ha colpito più invece dei filmati oppure dei libri sulla sua storia, perché lì ho capito proprio il personaggio di lui, questa tragedia, questa storia veramente drammatica di lui, di tutto quello che gli è successo, non soltanto a lui, ma tutta la sua famiglia coinvolta in quella tragedia. E per me Anna Tortora, come hai detto tu, era un personaggio, sì, che stava sempre dietro le quinte. L'unico filmato che esiste è un'intervista di Enzo Biagi fatta 3 mesi dopo l'arresto, dove lei si concede e racconta quella notte del giugno 1983, e quindi era l'unica cosa. Però Marco mi ha dato abbastanza carta bianca, mi ha anche detto che non gli interessava le sembianze fisiche, quindi gli interessava più il personaggio, questa donna che è sempre stata al fianco di suo fratello, di Tortora, dall'inizio, dai tempi di Portobello, e l'ha sempre accompagnato fino proprio fino al carcere. È sempre stata anche una sponda tra lui e la sua famiglia e le ragazze, che una era minorenne, quindi non poteva entrare in carcere, quindi era proprio un personaggio molto era devota a Enzo, e quindi su questo ho cercato di lavorare, di fare di Anna un personaggio insomma, che era lì per Enzo, sempre presente, sì.
In realtà è proprio quello che hai detto tu che io ho ammirato immediatamente di Francesca Scopelliti, cioè il fatto che sia rimasta in qualche modo ai margini di questa storia. Lei ci è stata senza esserci, in qualche modo, come ho detto anche prima, non ha mai preteso un ruolo all'interno della storia, un riconoscimento, un posto pubblico all'interno della vicenda. E mi sono avvicinata a lei. Devo dire la verità, non ho mai avuto il coraggio di contattarla personalmente per un grande senso di pudore e di rispetto che ho sempre nutrito nei suoi confronti. Ho pensato, anzi, che conoscendola avrei probabilmente avuto un coinvolgimento emotivo eccessivo che mi avrebbe portata a ossessionarmi all'idea di non deluderla, di renderle giustizia in qualche modo. E siccome lo spazio per questo ruolo all'interno di questa serie, nonostante sia molto incisivo, e per questo ringrazio Stefano e Marco, comunque è piccolo, quindi non volevo in qualche modo appunto non darle lo spazio emotivo che merita questa donna. E quindi mi sono avvicinata a lei intanto con il filtro di Marco, che so che era in contatto costante, e soprattutto attraverso le lettere meravigliose che Enzo le ha scritto dal carcere, quindi attraverso i suoi occhi e la sua sensibilità. E le cose che mi sono rimaste più impresse, oltre ai nomignoli deliziosi che gli dava, anche molto in contrasto, perché la chiamava cicciotta, quindi non so, mi fa pensare a una sfera più intima e tenera, ma la chiamava anche domina, e rifletteva appunto questa cosa, il suo essere, io ho immaginato anche autorevole, integra, volitiva, e lui la tratteggiava veramente con una cura emozionante, perché le chiedeva di non fumare troppo. Cioè, quest'uomo, nello stato emotivo in cui si trovava all'interno del carcere, riusciva a trovare il tempo e lo spazio per preoccuparsi della sua amata a casa. Cioè le chiedeva di godersi la vita. Avevano una grande differenza d'età, no? Quasi 25 anni mi sembra, per cui di nutrirsi dei suoi affetti, lei che poteva, di non indossare troppo gli occhiali da vista per non viziare la vista, e di non piangere e di pregare per lui. Quindi io l'ho conosciuta così, ed è stato un onore, veramente. Io spero che lei sia felice del lavoro che ho fatto.
E siamo quasi in chiusura, ma volevo Volevo coinvolgere i produttori perché intanto relativamente alla domanda di prima in cui si parlava del confronto con un pubblico internazionale, in realtà questa serie ha già cominciato un percorso internazionale e segna un debutto importante che è quello su HBO, quindi se potete brevemente dirci cosa ci aspetta sotto il profilo così.
Sì, intanto immaginate dover lanciare una nuova piattaforma in Italia e la sfida qual è, e pensate la fortuna che abbiamo avuto nell'avere questa come prima serie italiana, cioè sono quelle cose che se te lo raccontano non ci credi e invece è successo. E un'altra domanda che avete fatto prima rispetto all'internazionalità, immaginate anche quando questo copione mi è arrivato sul tavolo dei responsabili di HBO a Los Angeles, eravamo nuovi, nel senso era una delle prime cose che mandavamo e non c'è più successo quello che è successo allora, cioè hanno immediatamente letto la storia e hanno detto ok, e abbiamo avuto penso un'approvazione più rapida, no? Che di sempre. Ci è andata bene, nel senso che poi non è sempre così, però quella volta è andata davvero molto, molto bene. È stata quindi già sulla carta, è una storia che ha colpito al di là dell'oceano e lo sapete meglio di me, anche se fosse una storia inventata, è una storia potentissima, ma la storia è vera. E quando ci chiedevano ma davvero, noi sì, è una storia vera, quindi mandavamo continuamente delle immagini di ritagli di giornale, di prime pagine e questa cosa ha assolutamente mosso. Quindi immaginate la potenza che ha a voi, che siete un po' più grandi, che conoscete la storia, e quindi noi pensiamo possa avere questo effetto emotivo, ma immaginate anche a chi invece la storia non la conosce e quanto questo rise and fall, che poi proprio no, sembra neanche farlo apposta, una storia perfetta nella sua drammaticità. Quindi sì, la vedranno in tutto il mondo e la vedranno grazie a un'artigianalità, mi piace un po' dirla così perché ho visto come lavorate voi ed è davvero una cura nel dettaglio dall'inizio, davvero dal set, che per me è stata appunto un'esperienza mistica direi, ma anche nell'accompagnare il progetto, quindi grazie a Lorenzo che l'ha portata a noi,
Lorenzo
Mieli, grazie a Simone e poi vabbè quindi
grazie. Lorenzo, vuoi aggiungere qualcosa?
Sì, no, volevo solo aggiungere niente di così rilevante a quello che ha detto Laura, solo però rispondendo alla domanda che aveva fatto quel giornalista prima e quindi legandomi a quello che dicevano Marco e Fabrizio, la contemporaneità di questo sentimento terrificante della ricerca della caduta del Dio o della divinità da te stesso creata. I tedeschi hanno questa parola che si chiama Schadenfreude, che è la gioia per la caduta e il dolore altrui. E credo che sia un tema, cioè credo che un pubblico americano che non crede che questa storia sia possibile, però si possa immaginare cosa succederebbe se Oprah Winfrey un giorno dalla notte alla mattina dopo fosse accusata di essere la capa di un cartello di narcotrafficanti o se in Italia domani Maria De Filippi l'arrestano domani mattina. È successo veramente e in realtà è successo esattamente questa cosa e in questo momento in cui l'odio sociale intendo attraverso i social, dell'amore e odio di queste icone, secondo me è un tema molto contemporaneo e che risuonerà moltissimo.
Grazie. Simone, proprio in chiusura.
Non ho niente di intelligente da aggiungere. No, nel senso...
i festival, per esempio...
sì, sicuramente, l'internazionalità, sono arrivati gli inviti da tantissimi festival internazionali in varie parti del globo, quindi Toronto, Busan, Londra, anche altri che non posso dire perché sennò devono annunciare loro.
Okay.
Quindi presumo che sia comunque una storia che ha dentro dei caratteri universali e che porta un'emozione che è riconoscibile a ogni latitudine, quindi non avrei particolari dubbi che può piacere a chiunque.
Certo. Grazie a tutti, dobbiamo fermarci qui, grazie.
C'era una signora che voleva fare...